case, they are going to be using that Viper as a sentinel as much as possible to try and delay. And on the attacking side, they just have so much when it comes to like smoke abilities. They can really section off an awful lot of the map, and even in the early days of this map, people did attempt to try and use Viper.
Yeah, we've seen it in the past, that's for damn sure. Let's see if it works out this time around. ZETA on the attack side. They've got their wall down on B. They're looking to crunch A, though. Mazzino up on top of the ice wall, comes out as the ammo runs low, but Crow is there to save the day and keep them with the man advantage. Delzik in trouble now. The teammates in here to help. Nades, boom bots, everything can be thrown. On the other way, it looks like there's no such thing as a left click on this server. Everyone's right-clicking those classics, and Crow is having a field day so far.
Do they expect RIOT to be in this position? The rest of the team have gone sprinting over to the B site. They've locked off Heaven with the Sage Wall. They've got the slows to allow them to cross, but then there's this flank coming in from behind from RIOT. In fact, there's even the second one coming through just later on. I don't see any way that the defenders get back into this round, and Takage clearly feeling a little bit more confident. A Prime Gaming flawless to kick things off for ZETA. That's a pretty damn good pistol.
No, it's never going to have the biggest amount of impact when it comes to the pistol rounds versus later when you have the rifles, the more expensive weapons that you would be losing out on. But right here, it certainly helps avoiding giving your opponents any of those kills, any of those ulti orbs. And I have to say, Crow's ability in pushing in towards that A site, that's what opened up the... Like, if he doesn't hit any of those shots that he does, they'll lose the round. They don't get to rotate over and find a completely open B site. Instead, they're having to fight from a massive disadvantage and not having anything other than mid control. So, very important to see Crow deliver it in that early stage. Now, the buy round looking comfy for ZETA. Lots of Spectres to work with. And Crew, interestingly, they're stacked up on middle. They're looking to take a fight as a team. I like this, but it doesn't look like ZETA are playing into their hand.
Yeah, the problem is as well, they can't even really get too aggressive because they don't have any flashes. So it's not like they can like pop flash them out and all go through together. They almost have to rely on the stuns of something like Astra or maybe a Gravor to try and pull people in. So being aggressive on the defensive side is actually going to be relatively difficult for Crew unless they're just going almost dry peeking into a fair few angles. So I'll be interested to see how they actually get that done and how they play it. And for ZETA, as I said, like they're falling into these defaults quite regularly, just playing slow on their attacking side. It definitely didn't work amazingly on the previous map, but as said, they don't have that same initiation power that we saw on the last.
Oh, what? How's he gotten out of there alive? He's still alive! How's he on site? RIOT was holding for that, the dash, fair enough, and then a complete whiff nags it in the spawn now. Great opening pick for them. They want to deliver a little bit more, but Crow again on the A lurk has been huge. He dragged over rotates here with the Viper wall earlier, comes in on the perfect lurk, and he's opened up another opportunity for them to push in. You have the Tiger put down to clear out vents. They're coming into Heaven, guaranteed that they still have site control as they come out. They've maybe got a fight on the cross, but it's going to be a pretty tough fight for the Crew side to win. And as you see, the plant comes in. Crow, ooh, he's in trouble, but look at the damage he's done. He's made it so easy for his teammates to clean up the rest of these kills.
Yeah, they're still not going to be over-facing, but maybe losing a weapon or two. The fact is 2 players only have pistols into this round anyway, so they might be able to retrieve the extra Spectres, and then it's not too much of a problem, and I think that is exactly what happened. There we go. It took a little bit of time, but it's going to be 2-0. And ZETA, as said, they haven't lost too much in these early rounds.
Yeah, you can look at it this way, though. Crew have managed to get a lot of utility out of them. There was a lot deployed here when it came down to the ZETA side. They did lose their armor, their ghosts, a little tiny bit of reinvestment coming into this round, but it is a chip away at an iceberg. They need to be coming in strong on these rifles.
Yeah, this is where we get to see what Crew really have to offer. As said, like, when it comes to initiation around the map, like the last map, we saw them having so much information all of the times they could gamble their rotations. This time, they're going to have to try and lock down some map control and almost slow their opponents, which they have a lot of utility available to them to do. Now, in this round, at least, I expect ZETA to be incredibly aggressive, and somehow, Mitch, they've just won a mid-battle with a Spectre.
That they have. Probably shouldn't have been able to do that, especially because you actually saw that Kesnitz was as far back as he physically could be inside event. He was not looking to make an ambitious peak. In fact, he was playing the right play. Now up close, Naxit's in trouble as well, taken down by a Spectre. Well, I don't know what bullets they've loaded into these weapons, but they certainly don't do that kind of damage when I wield them.
I don't know. When you've got the Nerf guns on the other side, you might be the guy with the rifle, right? Just shooting blanks the majority of the time. But for now, at least, it is just going to be Slaughter. Nice shot though from Mazinho. He might have just given them a chance in this round. He even comes back to get another reloading after every single shot. Didn't seem necessary, but clearly he feels he needs the extra bullets. Takagi will close out the round a little closer than I'm sure ZETA would have liked, considering how many early kills they got. But realistically, that's still a fantastic round.
There's just these moments where you can see players getting a little bit overeager when it comes down to that. The first fight, I don't even mind. It was a ranged duel down mid versus Spectres. Fair enough. You just got absolutely wrecked by it. But then this peak that comes out of heaven when they try to crunch in towards the site, it is just that little bit too much. They get caught off, they get picked, and ZETA end up with a bonus round win. One that definitely didn't look to be going their way.
And now they're even going to play this one as a little bit of a bonus. They've kept a pistol onto Laz. Seems a little bit unnecessary, but with what they're up against and how good he is with the Sheriff, I guess it's not really too much of a problem.
Great denial on the early round as well, because Nagza was just about to get his Blade Storm online with that ult door, but they managed to shut him down, put the Tiger through to guarantee that he's fallen all the way back and not holding a nasty little side angle. Good shutdown by Bars. That means he won't be losing the weapon up behind, and now things are looking pretty clean. I mean, hard to really get anything done from KRU's position at this stage.
They can also use Laz as bait if they really want to, but then again, he's going to be the one to find the kill. And, well, one kill, not really going to be too much for KRU, and already off to a flying start in the attack for ZETA. This was the problem we had in the last map. Their attacking side looked really poor. This time, well, this is looking like a comfort pick, and as it was mentioned on the desk, Mitch, they don't actually play this map that much, so it's clearly a lot of preparation that's come into their split for this event.
Oh, most definitely. And I mean, that is what you expect. We've already seen the preparation pay off for KRU over on the previous map. Let's see, coming into this map, if they've also got what it takes to push it across the line. Another buy round comes into play for them, but this time it features the operator on Nagzit. And it was a huge difference maker when it came down to Ascent and taking that B main control, and it looks like it'll be no different this time around. A great opening with RIOT out of the round already.
I swear, the more I watch Jets in this tournament, the more I realize how overpowered the dash is. Just gets right up in the faces of opponents and just like, see you later.
I can already see Lothar nodding at home. Yes, nerf it. It's been calling for it for months, and you can see why. It gives someone like Nagzit the ability to just walk through a smoke, take one shot kill, and get out of there instantly. It is a pretty overpowered loadout, and that's why we see it used up so much, but it didn't help RIOT at all.
Luckily, Takagi has got a fair few kills already in this game. There is going to be a paint shell thrown through to try and counter, but it doesn't actually catch him at all, maybe expecting him to be just that little bit deeper. The problem is this whole excursion into getting him back in the round has basically left them with 35 seconds to try and make a full execution, and the spike is currently in mid, Mitch. This is a little bit worrying for ZETA.
Yeah, there's not a lot of control for them. They do manage to spread back out into middle, but there's a wall up. They're going to have to get past that. The time is really running low at this point. 20 seconds on the clock as they look to move on through. They're clearing the backside, spotting out. There's now three players in position to hold this one down. In fact, the operator just around the corner. 10 seconds left. The time is going to be the true enemy of ZETA on this one, but never mind, because they just get a flurry of frags to put 5 on the board.
How? How did they just kill everyone with 10 seconds left? I was thinking, like, the best case for them was that they managed to kill the 2 players on B and get a plant. Not that they actually just wipe out the entirety of KRU. I'm almost wondering if somehow they've just swapped sides of the stage, because this has gone from one team absolutely dominating their own choice to now the exact same happening for ZETA. And a lot of the time when we talk about the attack of Split, it is the tougher of the 2 halves. So they're off to a really good start.
Yeah, Nagzit attempting his play through the smoke this time really didn't work when he went into heaven. He didn't have the dash back online, so he walks through, and then he doesn't walk back or dash back out of there. With 5-0 on the board, ZETA are looking strong, coming up against just Sheriffs this time around. I mean, this attack side really isn't finding any sort of a hiccup, any bumps in the road. Even when time was looking to be against them, the round was not looking very good. They still managed to get back into it. And that's a very concerning sign for KRU.
And we're going to see mid control, but Nags, well, it really does just seem like aggression is the name of the game. Now, there is going to be a trade back. RIOT wants to try and at least keep the man advantage in check, but instead, it's just going to be battles across the map. This default hasn't been going fantastically. Delzik almost catches him taking the orb, and again, it's just going to be the fallback from the attackers. The clock ticking a little bit, Mitch.
4v4, do you really commit to that ult orb at that stage versus pistols? I mean, that is a big risk with nobody covering you, but fair enough. Spray down good for Rada, shutting down Delzik. I mean, they've got control over the side at this point. Finding another opening is the name of the game here. There it is. Kesnet able to grab one onto Rada. It's still within the realm of possibility, and at the very minimum, just dealing damage is what they want. As they try to push forward to retrieve that Vandal, Laz does just the same. Closing out the round, and putting 6 on the board. Now, this was an expected round. This was one that they definitely should have won over on the attacking side of ZETA. Now KRU invest. But if KRU don't get off the ground here, if they don't put a round on the board right now, then this map again starts to really slip out of their grasp pretty quickly.
Well, it seems they heard you, because they have gone to take themselves a timeout, and I think it's more than necessary, because so far there hasn't really been much to talk about. I think Nag's aggression has been the one thing that has at least given them like an entry or two in these rounds, but most of the time we've seen late executions coming through from the side of ZETA, and they've just been opening up these sites without too much trouble. And it's not been like insane utility usage or forcing players out of angles. They've just been winning a lot of these duels, and that's much more of a worry for KRU, because in the first map, it was the polar opposite. They were dominating in every single battle except maybe against Laz. In this case, that's looked fairly easy for the side of ZETA.
Yeah, it absolutely has a different team, a revitalized side coming in for revenge after an embarrassing start to the first map. They're looking to give KRU a taste of their own medicine. I like the timeout, well called. As we were saying, this round here is so important. When ultimates start to peek over, when weapons are there to be worked with, and when you can finally still get that tied up scoreline at the half, because you really don't want to allow an 8-round, 9-round, or even more attacking side on split.
Yeah, I would say 6 is already bad enough.
Yeah, it pretty much is, yeah.
I personally would have liked to pause maybe a little bit earlier, especially just the manner that the rounds were going, and it was like you lose your bonus, and then everything else from then onwards has almost looked easy for the opposing side. But we're going to get Nags back on his operator. This has been, as I said, one of the big points of contention so far. The flash will force him off the angle, and by the looks of it, again, they're going to be challenging for the orb. In fact, they've even popped Seekers incredibly early on, but this is a ruse, Mitch.
And look at that, Nags goes back out for the peak, taking down Rada. That's huge, but have they noticed that it's yet an A hit? Takage is able to grab open the kill, find a side. That spray down goes Mazzino's way, but he can't get out of there alive. That could have been huge. KRU setting up for the retake, but now the man disadvantage no longer in play for ZETA. The showstopper of Kesnet is what I'm looking at, though. That could be the difference maker right now. They're grouped up and looking to come straight out of spawn. And the first player they'll take contact on is Bars, and that's exactly who they're trying to take down. The orbital strike comes in. He's low HP, but he survives the showstopper. The teammates can't push with him. What a play by Bars. And now things are looking doable. Takage, not spotted up above, quickly picks off one, and Nagsit is off to save.
A big round again from ZETA, and I love the fact that after this pause comes in, they've not just sat there, they've not gone, okay, let's just stick to what we've been doing. They come up with a really audacious strategy, a fake that was definitely a little bit risky, throwing some players into that B site, but it worked perfectly. And I like the fact as well that they commit the Seekers, because you see exactly where it comes from. I was thinking at the start of the round, like, that's a bit of a weird Seekers. Like, you've thrown that in when, realistically, they're probably just going to go all over the map, but if you're the defensive side, you've gone, they've thrown in their jet, they've thrown in the Seekers,
exactly.
The chances are they're here, and then they run into the site. That's a beautifully executed strategy from
And it's
ZETA.
the timing of the play as well. It's the fact that, because it went as poorly as it could have on that fake. They use the Seekers, they dash in with Rada, and he dies instantly.
Yep.
So that fake was as short as it physically could have been, and they still capitalized on it time-wise. Now they know they can push this operator back. The operator, though, isn't here to play with. Nagsit is moving down middle. Look at it. He's pushed all the way down. He's going to get an early fight onto Bars before the site is even challenged on, and he wins wins it out. Now they just need to hold on, but on the site, in comes Reyna, and he's got the Blade Storm to play with. A nice double opening. Nagzit rallies in to help out his teammates, rushing with an operator in hand, trying to stop the plant. He's dealing damage, but no kill yet. A 4 versus 2, but that Viper's Pit could be all that ZETA need to close this out. Crow has to stay alive. What a shot onto Nagzit. An ambitious play, dropping out of heaven with an operator in hand, and now they'll group up, and they'll even start to flank around on them. This is gorgeous. Takage caught, and it's all on the Crow. No stake bites to work with. He has to do it with the weapon in hand, and only one left, but Mazzino just about connects. The first round finally on the board for KRU, but that was damn close.
All the rounds to take away from them. It's one where they only have the pistols, and some huge individual play still coming through from the side of ZETA. It really couldn't have been much closer, but I do think it came down to the 2 Jet players in this round. Reyta able to do a decent amount with the Blade Storm, but this operator coming through, moving around on the flank, repositioning, and making things so awkward. It means that KRU finally have themselves around on the board, but they need a lot more than that.
Yeah, considering it still ended up so close, right? But they had the weaker weapons. That operator finding the opening from Nagzit was so important. The decision to instantly go back to his teammates helped out on the side. They barely got away with it, but they did. They've put 7-1 on the board, and this is the opening that this team has been searching frantically for. A boombot confirms there's players in middle. They know at this point it's likely to be a split in through heaven, so they need some reinforcements to help out Nagzit with that operator.
Yeah, they've got the alarm bot position, so that it will at least give away the spot, so he'll have the chance to pivot. It mainly comes down to the timing, though. If ZETA can get this right, they can make it a really awkward battle for the remainder, and they're actually going to try and fake things out a little bit by throwing the Tiger in the opposite direction. It's an attempt to try and make players move, and I think they might be.
If Kesnet uses his nade, he confirms that they've rotated, and it's going to be a straight hit towards B, so he's got to just hold off, not use his utility, and hope to take these fights. But Nagzit's being forced out of heaven, the flash, meaning that he pulls all the way back. Kesnet does the same, plays behind the smoke. They concede the control, but ZETA are going to look to use that to their advantage, wanting to push all the way through, and the timing is glorious. Kesnet falls, but Nagzit isn't letting it go that easily. A double kill, and as they try to flank him out through elbow, Klaus is still holding strong. The shot not connecting, but it might not matter, because very quickly his teammates come through to help out, and a second round is found by KRU, now finally finding their feet here on Split.
Yeah, I like the repositioning as well. They had a few players able to cover, but ultimately, again, it seems to be coming down to Nags just on the site, having to hit some pixel-perfect shots to make sure that they don't just swarm in, because in reality, ZETA had them almost completely surrounded. They had spawn control, they had heaven control, and obviously they had their initial control that they took earlier on. So if it wasn't for him connecting those shots, they lose that site very fast.
Yeah, oh, they absolutely do. Luckily, from what we've seen of Nagzit on land so far, you can rely on him connecting those shots. He has been clean with this operator, and again, looking for an aggressive position, holding down on middle, pushed out. And in fact, all the way out. He is really looking to take this fight, and he managed to get behind the box, so that flash didn't blind him. They thought mid was clear, and then he gets a free kill. And again, we're going to have to see that very early round ult used to res a player up, but they're ready for it this time. The nade going in for damage, and Nagzit delivering on the Blade Storm. The numbers remain even as KRU. A little bit of a tough spot now. They hadn't spotted that Raiden went all the way through, and in fact, they know where he is, but it doesn't matter. It's good for 2.
It's the battle of the Jets just going back and forth, and now they finally face off against each other. A pistol versus the knives, and Reyta wins it with the classic, barely taking any damage at all. This is his round, and while Delzik, where does he even go at this point? It seems like he has the right read. The fake from Reyta hasn't pulled him off, but he needs to do so much, Mitch.
Yeah, he really does. He's got the first. Timing is good to cross over to the side. He'll be tickled up on the way. A nice spray as Bars goes down, and it's a 1v2. There goes the Cosmic Divide. They have to push him down. And as they come out of heaven, this could be the ideal scenario for him to just pick them off. On the walk through, there it is, 1 and 2! Delzik gets it done! A 4K and a huge clutch to keep KRU in it, 7-3! They continue closing in that gap.
Well, we haven't seen too many Red Bull clutches yesterday, but that definitely makes up for it. Unbelievable stuff from Delzik. I won't lie, I counted him out. I said it before he even goes there, like, what could he realistically do here? And well, another thing, we've seen a cosmic divide that actually did something. I think that might be the most important thing in the tournament.
It could be a first. Absolutely spectacular work. And I mean, you cannot rely on those clutches. You absolutely can.
No.
Stake your bets on it being a 1v4. But it worked out. Yet again, a lifeline for KRU here on Split. They are having a tough time despite the consistent opening duels. And how amazing Nagset has been. He has forced out 2 reses out of the ZETA side so far.
See, they did this last time as a fake. The rotations are going to be coming through once again, and the main reason being is that Nags has already made the push down, but they've actually got this site for free. The rest of the players are almost just sitting straight into a retake. They want to try and find the picks back in, and well, just a tiny gap is enough for Laz to fall.
That's the first down, the first of many, and a big deal to take those flashes out in the early round. Here comes the lockdown. They're forced out of position, though. Good trade out, but there's a second player here. Delzik, again, saving the day. That lockdown coming into effect. They have given up on trying to destroy it. ZETA falling all the way back. They're going to rely on Bars coming in on the flank. He just needs 1 kill and Orbital Strike will be online. It's a 2 versus 2. Now, Bars, the solo man, but he, oh no! He's taking the molly out to try and take the fight. He wanted to deny the defuse, but instead, he loses his life. And KRU push up to 4. Another successful retake for this defensive side, and they started off incredibly slow. But they have found their feet, and they're starting to push towards that 7-5 half. Still, pretty bad scoreline, but hey, a lot better than 12-0.
Yeah, the worrying thing as well is the manner in which they're winning the rounds. Is it legitimately could be like 12-0 at this stage.
Yes.
Like they've had clutches that probably never should have happened. In this round again, like it was looking like it could have gone either way, especially in the afterplant scenario. But they're grinding out these rounds from 7-0 down, a potential 7-5 half, and the money now not great for ZETA. That's a pretty damn good comeback.
It absolutely is. And for the team that has the map advantage, remember, there is no pressure on this team's shoulders. They are used to playing at international lands. They've been here before. And they're coming into a position where if they lose this, they've got another map to rely on. Good opening by Delzik, the operator, not quite landing. Nagset gonna have to help out his teammates because Delzik is running right into the nade, but it doesn't matter. The entirety of ZETA is being dealt with in a matter of seconds and a showstopper to close out the half. 7-5. A phenomenal comeback from KRU. Yet again, we're ready to count them out from the first couple of rounds that we see, and yet the team swing back. This is an interesting series, I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's one of those ones where I'm kind of sat here just like, it's been peculiar. 7-0, 7-5. I'm not really sure where this is going to go at this point, especially now that the momentum seems to be swinging away from ZETA. Like, I'm seeing some of the faces drop after what should be rounds going in their favor, Mitch. So who knows how the second half's going to go.
Well, I don't know how things are going to go, but before we look forward, let's first look backwards. Throwing it over to Bala, who's got some breakdowns for us.
We're going backwards into the rounds, but we are looking at a different ZETA division in this second map because what we saw in Ascent was that they were a little bit readable by the side of KRU. They kind of figured out what they were going to do. So let's take a look at how they broke that pattern on Split by taking a look at the map of one of the earlier rounds. This is about the 6th round where they started to really try to throw some different things at them. So let's roll the clip. Start off by paying attention over here in B lobby. It's a quick flash. Let's go ahead and pause it right now. A quick flash in from the sky, and Jet is forcing the issue on this B site. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see immediately this Sky is going to continue to support Jet Rada as he dashes in and tries to push off the position of the opposing Jet. That is, of course, Nags on the other side. So let's play it again and see how, of course, the Seekers come out as well. This is all to fake out the KRU side to try to get them to rotate from the other way. So these Seekers, and then he even uses the Trailblazer to go all the way through. We'll see the reaction here from Nags. Pause it as soon as we get to that reaction. Yeah, right here. He's going to be like, oh, wow, they're sending everything. The dog's coming through as well. He will get the frag onto Rita, who comes out. But let's go ahead and roll it because the reaction from the rest of his team is also important. One more time, let's pause it right here. look up at the top of A and start rolling it, because you can see the teammates are starting to rotate already. We have one person up, and now they all of a sudden are coming in. They're like, hold on a second, pause it. We just saw this kill happen up into heaven onto the rafters, but this wall comes a little late, and he's realizing just now that this hit is coming. The rest of the players, all 3 members of ZETA Division, are rolling through into the site. Let's go ahead and play it again. And there's a lot of delay that I don't think that the majority of the competition here in Berlin is kind of used to, because we're not seeing much Brim. Sure, he gets a pick through the smoke with the Vandal. Josh Wilkinson is mauling at that. But after that, go ahead and we're going to get the Brimstone right here, his POV. This is going to be important because he has a lot of delay, right? He's going to be able to use an orbital strike. Look how cautious they are, too, because of this smoke that is in the spawn side. Finally, we have the Sky rejoining the fight as well. An important thing here, look at the split. We have one person trying to come up ramp, but he's going to buy time with this molly, with the orbital strike that he puts down, for his teammate to actually come and retake heaven, and eventually that will cause the round to end. Yes, he gets a frag there, but pause again. Look at these guys as they try to push into the site. There's really not much time left. They've already gotten back up into heaven control, and we have a crossfire here that's going to be unstoppable to play. And the problem was how late this came, how hard it was to reach. So roll it all the way through, and this is a round that ZETA Division ended up winning out. But from here, I think the difficulty was ending up starting to fall into the same patterns and start to hit that A site over and over and over, and in effect becoming readable themselves. So we're looking at a second half that's going to be really difficult, I think, Mitch, to kind of figure out what's going on, because on the second part of that ascent, it was a defensive side that rolled back up. So Mitch, I don't know, this could be a good game.
Well, let's hope so, Bola. Let's hope we've got a good game in our hands, because a 7-5 half is better than what we've seen before. So I'm expecting a little bit of a brawl, but a lot of it is going to rely on KRU coming in strong, and we want to see them win that pistol.
Yeah, for sure. I think that from what we saw in the last map, it definitely was the defensive sides that looked just that little bit stronger. So I'm hoping that for ZETA's sake that they will actually just close this one out in decent fashion, because I want to get to a third map. I also want to see ZETA almost actually perform for the region. I think the Japanese fans need somebody to step up to the plate, and it looks like in this second map they go off to a flying start. But again, when you look over at the players' faces when they're losing some of those silly rounds, like this could have been an incredibly dominant half, and instead it ended up being okay.
And let's briefly discuss that. If KRU end up winning the pistol, they get up to 7-7, they win up even like 8-8, 9-8. You can then find it from ZETA's perspective where they're like, we would have won the game already.
Yep.
At this point, and it can really start to weigh on your mentality. Kesnet in there with the opening, good flash, but nothing found for Laz. That is so unfortunate. The Viper wall providing the cover as they fall on back. A disappointment, most certainly. And I mean, keeping the screen up, you know, as they come through, they're going to be lower on HP. That makes sense. A good call. And unfortunately, it has not worked out this time around. KRU have the man advantage and plenty of damage done to Laz and Bars.
See, now the turret being active is going to give away that there are players still waiting here. So they're not going to rotate anybody off just yet. Takajé's also been spotted out by the turret, but it's actually going to be his teammate that falls. Bars is gone within seconds, and now he has a real job to do. He's been impressive so far. They need to find something.
Yeah, Takajé's playing with fire. They know there's at least 2 players there. Crow onto Mazzino, just runs right out of the window. Gorgeous stuff. That's an opportunity for ZETA, but they need to deal with these close players. The blind goes in, the kill is there, and Takajé was watching for the run out. We're down into a man advantage for ZETA. The wall being broken, good kill, and Kesnet needs to clutch this one out. 100 HP, but 3 opponents, and it was so close with 20 left on Laz. It could have been the clutch. He would have had nade online as well, but instead, ZETA win the pistol, and we will go 8-5.
Again, solid retakes. That's something we can say from the previous map, is that they were very good at actually getting back into rounds where they were a little bit further behind. So the fact that, I will say, I've enjoyed the interplay between Laz and other players as well as his individual ability. Like, the fact is, on this map in particular, he's given a little bit more freedom to be aggressive, especially on the defensive side, and he's going to have those pop flashes for the teammates that need it. Now, going into this round, of course, you can't expect too much. We're going to have ourselves... Oh, God. I don't want to talk about the buy anymore.
Just taking a glance over. You know, one thing that I have to say about KRU right now, and I hate to be that guy, but Klaus had a great last map. He has 1 kill.
You calling out Kraus?
A little bit.
Klaus,
yeah, I was wondering who that was.
He was
I don't know,
you were
spectacular.
talking about him a lot yesterday as if he was your boy, someone you knew well.
Well, it's because Hypok, he won't stop. He just always talks about how much he loves Klaus. But the reality is, right now, he's not putting up the figures, and it's map to map. I need to see him return to form. This Killjoy not really selling it for me. And even in the previous round, you're holding outside A for the wall to break, but your turret is still active there. They can hear that. They know it's online. Oh, what you mollied it, and Reyna just runs through it. Okay, that's an ambitious play to say the least.
There do seem to be times when we're watching ZETA where I'm like, are people calling the utility they're using? It's like,
I mean, he knows he has the dash, right? But it was a little bit risky.
Yeah, it leaves a couple of their players low as well, but you can say the same for the other side, especially when coming up against the Judge, the SMGs. I also think going into a bonus round with a couple of Judges is just going to be absolute filth. Barth still fighting, but actually surviving on 14 HP, getting himself ever closer to that orbital striker. Piece of utility that's so valuable when it comes.
And he's almost out of ammo. And he's down.
They lost 2 players.
Judge lost, and considering they all invested pretty decently, that's already been a little bit too expensive. Now Mazzino's in trouble. He comes up here, he's just dead. Dead to rights. We knew he would be, but 9-5, 3 players alive, and Barca almost falling too. It's not the round that ZETA wanted, considering what they were up against. And most importantly here, Tom, considering what they're left with. Because with those weapons, they saved over a second Judge though, right? I'm pretty sure they picked it up.
No, he dropped it,
okay.
And then picked his Spectre back up again while trying to find it. So they wanted to bring in a second Judge, but they weren't able to. So.
I'm kind of glad, though, because the problem for me with playing that Judge, you can play a B-side in Heaven. That's where you're going to most commonly see it. But
he's bought another one anyway.
He's bought another one. Okay, so here's the issue. If Takage goes down, if he dies, your player on the B-side is useless. He is going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble now. I suppose it's Ray, so he can dash around, but it seems incredibly risky. Kesnet gonna grab that showstopper, and he's got it. He's out of there.
Yeah, that's big. That's such a huge opener, especially in a round where you really want to make sure that your economy starts here. Like, you really build into the map. Making sure that you have those extra ultimates online can be so useful, and he's found a lot of kills over the last few rounds. It's one of the more expensive ultimates we have within the game at the moment. For now, though, a little bit more of a patient stance. I really do like the screen that's being used by ZETA at the moment. Covering off mid, but also it cuts off the opening to B, which allows for a little bit more aggression. It's a cool screen that opens up a lot of space. And well, as you can see, Reita's in a pretty nice spot for the Judge.
Yeah, it's nasty. There's not a lot you can do versus it. As you come around this corner, the first is his, the second very nearly is. Mazzino left on 14 HP. He'll be hunted down, and Takage passes judgment. And it's not good news for the side of KRU. Showstopper pop, but it's not finding anybody. Eventually fired down.
30 seconds
Shot in
left.
the dark and nothing landed. Still, Spike is going to be able to be planted here by Klaus. The 2 versus 3, this is the moment where Klaus needs to step it up. We've seen Kesnet with some big plays, but as we said, this map has not seen a good performance out of this Killjoy on the KRU side. And now is the time that he can make this happen. Weapons in hand as ZETA look to move out of Heaven. They're just, they're slowing it down. They're waiting for the flash. Nice, smokes are down. Now they isolate the angle. Snake bites in. That should force them out of position. And so Kesnet wants to try and make a little bit of a play. They've spotted both players now. There's the information. It's coming at a heavy cost, but they managed to trade out. Laz hitting that form we saw on Ascent to put double digits for ZETA.
Yeah, I think at this stage we're now starting to look towards map 3. Like, that's a bonus round victory where they took a fairly big risk as well, like buying in with an extra Judge or 2. And more importantly, they even then got to upgrade into a couple of extra rifles. As said, I love the utility usage of that screen. It's just making the position so much easier to take with a lot less risk, and less players are going to hang around in B main, which a lot of the time you're not going to do it because it's quite an uncomfortable spot to hold. So ZETA doing well on their defensive side. KRU not getting off to the start they wanted on the attack. Oh, now we're going to see a slight change of screens.
A little bit. I mean, we saw this one earlier on, right?
Yeah.
It was the one that sort of screwed Laz when he went to make that play. Nice deep flash, confirms his players around middle. I mean, that's just early round information. See if you can confirm that it's going to be a B or an A exclusive play if it doesn't blind anybody up, especially versus the pistols. It's always a good idea to pop that one out. They've given up the control, not wanting to duel them up too close. But Reita, is he going back out for this? He is? With the Tiger?
He's only got one knife left.
No. He has them. The UI is just kind of blocking.
Oh, it is blocking them. I was about to say, I was like, if he's only got one, that's madness, but no, instead.
Oh!
I think them. Oh, I thought he connected that for a second, but it isn't quite going to work out. And well, this time, he's done some damage. I guess it's not really that much of a loss. He only had a shorty alongside it, so he'll be able to buy comfortably into the next round. Might have even been a play just to make sure he can get the operator. And obviously for the rest of the players, it's just a chance to earn some ultimate orbs.
Yeah, most definitely farming it up. And they survive with all 4 of those remaining players. It's gorgeous, isn't it? It's the highlights of the textures that kills me. That's absolutely amazing. 11-5. No need to highlight that KRU are behind by a bit. They're not feeling all too hot. I do love, like, look at this spin.
Oh, it's so close. I think even in his head, he's like, I've got to look away so that it looks cool.
Yeah.
I feel like everything ZETA does has to look cool while they're doing it, otherwise they're off-brand.
I mean, it's the jackets, man. Jackets are on point.
Can we get ZETA jackets put into the game? Just a question.
ZETA and Gambit. I'll take that, please.
I want the Gambit shoes.
Oh, yeah. Our wall's going to be broken right away. ZETA themselves a bit of aggression on the A side, actually. A one-way orb that's going to allow a close hold. And a comfortable solo, man. So they started to rotate initially up into heaven, maybe around through spawn, but they've decided to redirect and fight for middle. I think they were gambling on this being a much faster mid-take out of KRU than what we have seen here because of the previous rounds where KRU upped the pace. They were just running in, they were taking control right away, regardless of weaponry in hand. But they've slowed it down over on this LATAM side.
I feel like they just don't know how to deal with Viper at the moment. Again, it was something that I think Sean highlighted at the beginning of this map. If they're going to win, it's because of Viper, and I can see it at the moment. Like, they're really having to try and hit timings while going through these screens, and a lot of the time it hasn't worked out too much for them. An opening, though, and more importantly, they now have that lockdown available to try and push them back out of this site. Laz is actually just going to fight off the back of it, but to get into the corner is going to be difficult, and I think he might just get detained, so he's going to be stuck in the mud.
Yeah, they're hunting him down. Oh, they don't want to go too far in case there's a teammate close by to trade them as they go on through. A wise choice, but in this instance, they would have actually walked away with a kill. No doubt a disappointment over on their side, but the spike is planted. Orbital strike ready for Bars, and he's going to queue that up right after the smoke. Backside is going to be pushed out into the open. Delzik falls right away. Klaus getting one of his kills, one of his first kills with a turret, but it might not matter. Nags it's dealt with on the backside, and despite what was a good start for KRU, there is an abysmal end.
I want to point out, I think, well, he's not actually going to take the ultimate orb, but Takage used his res in this round. He's halfway back to it again. This was an unbelievable few shots coming in on the retake, and that's the thing that I've been most impressed with of anything from ZETA when it comes to both maps. Their retakes have been phenomenal. So good with the utility, ridiculous shots being hit by Takage, but they also just have every ability forcing players out of angles. Like, they clear that back spot with the orbital strike, forces players forward. Then they have the snake bites to move them into other positions, and basically at that point you're just relying on Takage hitting shots, which is what he does best.
Pretty safe bet, yeah. If you can boil the round down to, all right, Takage, we're going to do everything else, and all you have to do is shoot people in the head. Hey, that's a pretty good way to roll the round, for sure. Now, we've got a timeout coming out of KRU. They're not giving up just yet.
Why do we have timeouts at 12 every time?
They want to push all the way up to the OT. They know it's possible. Fight for every single round, and considering the noise out of them, right? The energy that was there. Last time we saw them on camera over on the previous map, these guys were jumping around. They were full of energy, and now it is certainly feeling a little bit more dull.
Can't tell if he's dancing or explaining his strat.
Oh yeah, get those moves, baby. Let's go.
Oh god, I'm sure it was an excellent strat. You don't say bad strats if you're like really
You're that
emoting it with your
animated?
hands.
Absolutely not.
It has to be an excellent strat.
I love the like Jason Statham vibes. That's what I'm here for. I mean, I was always a big fan of his movies. Of his swimming as well. You know, he was a swimmer originally. Or no. I think an Olympic diver.
I know me and him are both bald, but that doesn't mean I know his life story.
Yeah, before he was an actor, he was an Olympic diver. I figured, actually, yeah. Gonna be coaching crew after this?
You know, we'll see how this map goes. If they come back with 7 rounds, I think his spot is safe.
Well, let's see. 7 rounds in a row needed for crew to make this one happen. ZETA just need the one to bring us all the way to map number 3. It has been a long road for this team. And after the first half being 11-1 down, I'll be honest, Tom, over in the first map, of course,
yeah.
I lost faith in the fact that we would see ZETA reach, never mind 12, but double digits in this series.
Yeah, no, it was a really poor start. I'm glad to see them bounce back, but now we need to see a little bit more from crew. They have struggled in their after-plant scenarios, and now, well, I'm not liking the look of this duel. Like, Raider sat here with a judge. Gun, I absolutely despise. We'll see if it's going to work out for him once again. Taksha, he's just not been missing. Here comes the judge. Of course it's going to work. And now it's left all onto one man. But he did do it before.
Well, yeah, he made the 1v4 clutch over in the previous half, but this is a bit more of a difficult task. Not rushing into the site, and he's now being spotted. They're starting to descend on these positions, rally up. Takeshi kind of looking to take this fight on his own, but he wins it out.
Fair
a
enough.
4K for the man.
Back to back.
Rez online to close out the game, 13-5. ZETA have done it. They've bounced back in incredible